You are live. Hello.
Howdy. What's going on, peoples?
We obviously have to get ourselves sorted because that's a requirement.
100%.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there.
It is pretty much a requirement that all children...
Turn down.
It is turned down.
Okay. Cool.
Every child is required to laugh at their mother's jokes.
True.
Bring them lots of chocolates, all of the important stuff. Hello, Michelle. Hello. So, how has your day been?
Good.
What did you do?
What did I do? So I went and...
Oh, let's not.
That's why I had it up there.
Okay, great. I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, good. Went out and seen a few people's. Seen one of my amazing mates, Tiny Humans.
Oh.
The tiniest, and yeah, and just had a good day of seeing people and just wishing everyone happy Mother's Day, like just doing the rounds and doing like those fun good things. How was your day?
I just love Tiny Humans.
I
love Tiny Humans.
True.
My day was fine. As you know, we moved not long ago, and
yes.
So we are, well, I say I because there's no we, unpacking boxes.
Yeah.
Going through boxes. There's not a we that's happening. It's a me.
I believe it.
So I've probably still got about 10 or so boxes to go, but I'm closer than I have been. So,
excellent.
Hello, Miss Bronwyn. Happy Mother's Day. Love you.
Big love to you too, B.
So that was my day done. Still sorting stuff. It just never ends. I swear they're multiplying because every time I empty one, then it comes. There's two of them there. It's like I'm pretty sure I just emptied that box. And then next minute there's like two more there. I
believe it.
It's not a cool thing. It's not a cool thing at all. So hopefully each and every one of you have had a fantastic day.
Yep.
Sometimes Mother's Day can be tough for people because if your mum is not here, if you don't have a great relationship with your mum, if it's strained, a lot of times it can be a tough day.
Yeah, definitely.
Because society says that it needs to look a certain way, and if it doesn't, then it can be really challenging. So, just do you, boo. That's it. Like if you don't talk to your mother, well, then don't talk to her.
100%. That's, definitely it's good to remember that you don't need to label it however you want. Everyone's different, and like you said, if you don't talk to your mum or that relationship's strained, then just do what you want to do what makes you happy, and really just go from there.
That's exactly right. You need to do what works for you. One of my friends, Nat, who's just brilliant, she talks about where are you abandoning yourself as opposed to making it about somebody else. It's like, every time we do something that doesn't make our soul happy, we are abandoning ourselves because of a should that we put on ourselves, or because, somebody else is trying to make us feel guilty about something or whatever. So bringing it back to where are you abandoning yourself, and work to not do that.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with significant days like today, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those holidays and stuff like that. We're not really one for all those days. We sat and talked for hours just then. I think that was more significant to us and our relationship than I'm pretty sure this is the longest that I've seen you for today. So it's just finding out what works for you, and we've never really been one for the norm. So it's just doubling down on you and finding what you like to do, what works for you, what works for relationships out there, and just continue to double down.
Absolutely, because don't get caught up in that whole what does the rest of society say, or and it's easy to get caught up in that movement.
100%.
Oh my God, there's a Mother's Day sale on, and everyone's talking about Mother's Day and stuff, and it's like, well, I would suggest that perhaps every day work on having a better relationship rather than waiting for one day where you're guilted out into having a relationship with them just makes it easier.
Yeah, instead of trying to cut down a massive tree on like in one foul swoop, like you can continually to just chip away at it, and then I think because I think that works better because we've tried that, like it just didn't really seem to work for us, but it's an everyday thing that we continually work on.
Absolutely. So get curious about what works for you, and if there's something in it that's not working for you, well then it's an opportunity to get curious. How does this work for me? Do I like this? What doesn't I don't like about it? What doesn't feel right? Am I feel like I'm abandoning myself to go and do something that somebody else says to me?
Yeah.
If this person wasn't my mother, father, significant other, whatever, would I put up with or be okay with this behavior? And
Definitely.
a lot of times the answer is no. So, yeah, so other than that, I didn't get any chocolate, I have to say. I am, hello, beautiful. Hello.
Michelle.
It's not working. If it's not working, prune it. You know it. Boom.
That's it.
I cut it away. Like that.
100%.
Okay, maybe not. Okay, I had this thought in my head about really carrying that's a bit extra, you know.
Very extra.
I am extra though, and it is. I'm gonna play the card. It's Mother's Day, so I'm allowed to be extra.
Sure.
However, I'm extra every day. So Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever day.
All those good things.
All of that. I was going to say they don't have a child day, but every day is Child's Day.
It's actually not.
It is.
Well, if you want to get technical, like the only reason you're a mother is because of me, so it should be celebrating that I'm getting to make you a mother. So
please, every day it gets to be the day that you're celebrated. I mean, come on.
Well, that's false.
So not. So not.
So let's run back.
Okay, can you not shake the desk because you move the thing?
No
chocolate. I know, right? This is just I need to trade in because this model is not.
Get an upgrade.
I need an upgrade on chocolate because that's standard requirement. There's been my chocolate.
So let's run back. Let's go back to the whole situation of how the lead up with me, and then kind of just like backtrack for those who have obviously, like those who have stuck with us may know a little bit about our story, but just give it from your point of view, from like the very first time and before what was happening with me, and then afterwards when I arrived. Is that rain?
No, it's the heater.
Oh, okay, let's get hell in it. Yeah, like just
the first time for what? Lead up to what?
So before having me as a child, and then the afterwards of that, and then kind of just the whole story. Like I guess a little bit of your story, and then how does that involve with me, and I don't know, just being a mother. Like that's what it's kind of all about today. So kind of give a little bit of a spiel of everything that you've obviously gone through as a mother, but the mothers that have gone before you, like your mother and your grandmother, and just really how they've played their significant roles, which then have gone and played a significant role in how either you have raised me or haven't raised me, and just kind of just give a spiel on that side of things, I guess.
I think it's funny. I see a generation now having kids, women in their 30s and stuff. And it's so funny because everything about the pregnancy is all, waiting for the little human to come earthside, and they've set up altars for them, and they're, talking to their divine soul and spirit, and everything about pregnancy is all it's a separate layer, and I'm finding myself and all this sort of stuff. And when I was pregnant with you, like the week before, I was out playing basketball. I was 17 and had no clue. So I find it really different, that it's almost like that next generation who are having kids. And I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's just that, new age movement where everything is, okay, have to go, see you, beauty, love you, hope you're well. I'll make sure I get chocolate. I'll update
We
you on
just
that.
had a
But yeah.
comment. Remember,
Yeah.
we have to.
Oh, okay, we have to tell people because okay, so we just had a comment on Facebook because for some reason it doesn't come up here on StreamYard, which we're using, and so it comes up on Facebook. It's really weird. So yeah, so it's interesting that everything now is all about the lead up to that. Whereas I don't know if it was because it was a different generation, or if it was just because I was stupid because I was 17. Um, that there was just like oh my god, I didn't see uh, any kind of doctor, no antenatal classes, no nothing. I think I saw the doctor once when I found out I was pregnant. That was about 4 or 5 months in or something. Like it was just, and then I suffered, went into labour for 19 hours and ended up having to have an emergency cesarean because your head was like crooked and you would have died if you'd come out the way you're supposed to. And so emergency cesarean. So then huge postnatal depression. I literally sat and coloured in the phone book for a year. I coloured in the yellow pages. And so it was a really rough time. And it was interesting because my mother would come home and say, oh, I thought, I didn't know if I'd find you alive or whatever. And it's like, this was a conversation we had later. And I'd said to her, you didn't think that it was like a little bit weird that I would just stay in the house colouring in, feed you and stuff. I don't have a lot of memories of that time. And she had said, oh, no, well, I had that as well. It's like, again, didn't feel the need to have a conversation about, you might end up. No, that's just how it was done. So it's interesting that generation of, well, that's just what happens. You just get sad and stuff. And so for me, that was interesting looking back because I wonder if I'd have got the support, if I'd have been more present, because that stuff, that whole time was literally a blur. I'm assuming I was medicated. I don't remember. But it was a time when the support was there if the right questions were asked about linking into it. And I'm not blaming my mother at all. It's simply that's what was done. So that was what she went through. That was what Nan went through and stuff. But at the time, could there have been more supports around that? I don't know if that was different. And then living, we were in Queanbeyan at the time, and then coming back to Dubbo, and then I went off the rails and it was just like I was a hot mess. Son stayed with his grandmother for a while. And it was really about trying to because I didn't see myself as a mother, because I was always the one in the family who was destined to be nothing. And so seeing myself as a mother was just nothing anyways, because I was literally told that I couldn't look after you anyways. Like, I can't look after. She can't look after herself. How's she going to look after anyone else? Oh my God. So it was interesting that, again, in the lead up to having you and then having the depression and stuff, going along the lines of, so we're going to support you in this to be able to, stay in your world, be present, all that sort of stuff. But it was very much about that whole, you can't look after him. This is not good for you. You need to leave him here and then go and do what you need to do and then come back. And I think that's how things were done as well. Thinking back, because Nan raised my brother, Nan raised me for a while, Nan raised you Nan's raised all of the other grandkids. It's almost like that whole, you don't ever raise a child by yourself.
It's safe to say that a tribe helps raise.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just kind of how it was. It was that whole, Mum talks all the time about when our cousin was a baby, Mum's younger sister. Mum would just go around and get her. Like when she was a baby, she would just take her, because that's what she did. Like, the other sisters would take the babies from the younger ones, because it was the assumption then that, well, you can't look after them, we can, so we'll just take. And so it was very much that whole, everybody's raising everybody's kids. You know, that whole, I think most of us have a memory of being in Nan's king size bed, which was like 4 blocks big, like
that way.
every child fitted in, and there was still room. I don't even know how, there was still room in there. I swear it was magic. So it was really about that whole, it was never a thing. And that's why I think it's really interesting now that, that generation of people are having kids and they're talking about, the singular parenting and, how it's just them and their baby. And it's like, well, that's really interesting, because I'm trying to imagine you saying, oh, no, you can't have, you're not looking after my baby, or, you can't have her, or you'd be like, I'm coming to get that child, So it's that whole, again, the difference. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if it's just an our family thing. I'm pretty sure it's not.
I don't think so.
But it's very much about that whole being aware of it. And then I went through huge guilt because I wasn't there for a little time. And then I made the decision that I was going to do the absolute, because I couldn't change not being there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I could do was allow you to know that every single day after that you were completely loved and that you were important in my world. And I'm pretty sure even now you kind of get that message. A little bit, like, and you a little bit kind of know that, because I think that every child needs to know that they are the most important person in somebody's world.
Definitely.
And so you will never have that question like in your head going, wow, I'm not really sure. And I think that, when you do have kids, your babies will have that same question answered, in that they will be the most important, not only in your world, but in ours as well. And so they will never have that whole, am I important to someone? Because I think there's nothing sadder for a child to go, does anybody even care?
Yeah, definitely.
And again, I think we do the best we can as parents. And being young, like I said, I was 17. Like I had no common sense. But with the age and the wisdom that comes with that, or so-called perceived wisdom that comes with that, being able to help your babies when they get here, to be able to know that they're loved is so incredibly important. And I guess we do the best we can. We try not to ruin our children. We try not to scar them. We try not to pass on a lot of the stuff that we did. But it's so interesting because we parent our parents' way until we intercept that and go, no, I'm done. And it's interesting because we're now on that completely different path, which took the time for us to get to that space to go, we need to do something different here. And you often ask, what made us different? I don't know. I cannot tell you what made us completely different to go, we want something completely different here. But we're definitely on that path within our family to then be different, to parent different, to have a different relationship, to have different goals, dreams, visions, generational wealth, generational business, like all of that is just completely different than everyone else in our family. And so I guess being willing to go, what is this going to look like? How are we going to do this? What works, what doesn't?
No, definitely. Yeah, like I definitely agree with all that, especially with it stops with us. Just running back to the postnatal, when you were coloring in the phone book, when did you realize like you were kind of, like, I guess, like in it and understanding, look, this may not be the way it's meant to be going? And really, what are other like coping mechanisms did you use other than coloring the phone book? And then how did you transition through that period and then out of it?
I think I was about 12. You were about 12 when I realized that was just because I didn't know that wasn't a normal thing.
Okay.
You know, so it's kind of like that whole, I mean, you obviously survived. Like you were home with me all day, so I obviously fed you.
Yeah.
Hey, Candice, how you doing, sis? You were obviously fed and changed and hugged and all that sort of stuff because, well, you're still here. I didn't smother you. I didn't forget to feed you. I didn't drop you on your head, like any of that sort of stuff. So it wasn't until later that I realized that was actually not a normal thing. And it's only, again, so often we look back on things and go, well, hang on a second, like, that's not a normal space to be in. That's not how it's supposed to be. And then going to work, I can remember I went back to work and then mum was looking after you during the day. And so just that whole, I guess, having the understanding later on, still not feeling 100%, but going to the doctor and her asking how things were, and it's like, oh, well, I cry a bit, and I just I'm feeling a bit lost or whatever. And she was like, oh, so it sounds like postnatal depression. I was like, what's that? I don't understand. But so those, I can remember in hospital the nurse coming and saying, you're likely to feel a bit sad, but that'll be okay. That was all she said. And I was like, okay. Like, that was it. No, keep an eye out for these signs. This is what might happen and stuff. Hormones are everywhere. No, there was none of that. It's just like she literally sat next to me on the bed. You might feel a little bit sad. She tapped my leg. Okay. So when I felt a little bit sad,
yeah,
I was like, okay, so I'm a little bit sad. She didn't say, if you get to the point where you are unable to leave the house, where you are in a semi-disassociated and comatose state, where you literally colour in from A to Z in the yellow pages every single day, might want to come and see some help. Didn't say any of that sort of stuff. And so that part of it was a challenge because, again, I wonder if things would have been different had somebody checked to go, this girl's not coping. This is not normal behaviour. What's going on? But again,
I guess it really, like, do you think that, obviously you've stated that Nan said that's what she went through too. Do you think that for that time that really was the norm?
Yeah.
So, like, obviously people, and I guess for some people and Black people especially, we see like going to the doctor and asking for help as a sign of weakness. So a lot of people deal with their stuff internally, and then obviously that manifests in different ways. But if you look at when you had me, and then the generation of Nan before, and then the generation of Nanji after that, it was really you just got on with it. I remember hearing stories of my pop who was in that era, and he sounded like he was just Superman. Like he went through some horrendous stuff to just feed his family. And I was, I guess it will kind of be like just the same kind of thing, but for you going through that time. But
absolutely. So we have a comment
from
Sis Candice. So she said, oh my God, me thinks in retrospect I might have had postnatal depression, but actually I was just so focused on kids. I thought I was actually tired. I only realised after it was all done. Also, stats show for minorities that they aren't listened to or taken seriously at the doctor, so you don't bother. Absolutely. I didn't go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
Like I went and had a pregnancy test when I was probably 4 or 5 months, and that was it. There was no going to see the birthing. There was no. I went into the hospital to give birth at the very first time that I saw the nurses and the ward. Like there was no introductions. There was no birthing classes. There was none of that sort of stuff. It was kind of like, yes, I'm here. When did your water break? Oh, a couple of hours ago. Okay. Like there was no, I had no idea, what was coming. I had no idea about any of that sort of stuff. And so again, being at 17, I don't know whether or not I was, you know, too young and doughy to even be told about that stuff. But the concept of giving birth to a small human, you know, having another life, so none of that stuff was registering with me.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I was playing basketball the week before. You know,
definitely.
like common sense would be tell you, well, I suppose you can run around and play basketball if you want to, but you know, like you really just, and even again, you know, having my water break, I was just like, oh my God, I peed myself. Well, no, I had no idea about water breaking, and then everybody was panicking. Oh my God, Karen's water broke. Get to the hospital. You know, like we spent all day at that hospital. You know, again, there was no calmness around that. You know, my auntie was running around looking for her shoe. It was in her hand. And that's it. Auntie Dad was looking for a shoe. Oh my God, I can't find my shoe. Where's my other shoe? It's in your hand. Oh, okay, right. Trying to put it on. I was like, why are we panicking? I'm going, why is everybody panicking and stuff? Like, am I meant to panic? I'm not panicked, you know? So it was a really interesting time. Again, there was no, you know, this is a calm and beautiful thing. We're bringing a life into the world. There was none of that. There was none of that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting that, you know, all experiences are different, and a lot of people are, you know, still having babies now, even at an older age, and still not being able to have the experience that they want. To have that voice as a woman to say, you know, because giving birth is not a medical condition. Like we're not, you know, we don't have something wrong with us and then we give birth and then the thing that's wrong with us is actually out. Like it's a normal, natural thing to go through childbirth. But I think the way that the medical system has it, regardless of an age, you're automatically high risk. So once you hit 40, you're high risk. Doesn't matter if you've had 7 kids, if they've all been natural. Once you hit an age, it's a high risk. Well, hang on a second, how's that? You know, like if I had it at 39, I'm fine, but 40, boom, I'm high risk. It's, you know, so it's interesting that we don't see it as a, you know, like again, a beautiful natural thing. And if you want to have that kind of experience, you generally either have to have a midwife at home, you have to have it outside of, there are some hospitals which are fantastic, you know, birthing suites and all that sort of stuff, but most of the time people are on a bed, you know, with a monitor strapped across and saying don't move. Again, you're not supposed to be laying down going, you're supposed to be moving so that, you know, your pelvis can open and all that sort of stuff, and movement, rocking, whatever. But it's, I think that the whole concept around childbirth is like, oh my God, there's something wrong with her. Quick, like she's in pain. She's giving birth to a human. We need like everything to stop it and fix it and stuff, you know? So I always think it's interesting how that whole thing plays out. And then normally now we have a generation of people after that who are dealing with the trauma of childbirth. You know, because for a lot of people, it's traumatic. You know, so yeah. So that was an interesting time, and getting to that point where, you know, like Candice was saying, going to the doctor and asking those questions and being able to say, well, no, actually, because if you do say, oh, I know I'm not going to do this, I want it to be drug free, you know, I'm going to have my own midwife, all this sort of stuff, well, then you are labeled as uncooperative, as defiant, rather than being empowered, you're seen as oppositional, which again is interesting. So I'm interested to know other people's experiences, mums that are on here. How was yours? Candice, you were talking about being focused on your tiny humans.
What are some of the defining moments that you've come across in your journey and your own parenthood compared to the likes of Nan and all those mothers before you? Like, what is, and I guess like both good and bad because they both play a role, but yeah, some moments where you've either seen them do something and like, that's great, I'll use that, or I don't like how they've done that. I'm going to do it this way. And then to really set in sand where you've gone and made your own path.
Great question. Now you make me think back. I guess one of the biggest things has been around providing you with opportunities, regardless of whether you took them or not, but providing you with opportunities to do different things just so that you have different opportunities. And I guess in some ways it's really interesting because that kind of happened almost by default because we didn't set out to go, oh, so we're just going to do things really different. Like when you were in high school, it was just a normal, natural thing that you were going to go overseas and do summer camp because everybody else you were going. So it wasn't never a matter of do you want to go? It was a matter of where are you going? Because when it gets to, is that year 10, year 11, year 12?
Yeah, I think around about year 10, like he's really started to plant the seed fairly hard, and it wasn't like every day, but it was like, you'd plant the seed, and then it was watching all those shows about summer camp. So I guess once you started to plant that seed, it was subconsciously I thought that I'd really thought about it when it was just you guys planting that seed, and then you'd come back, you'd water it, and then one day it was really like, Dad, like it just like, when are we going? Like, when are we going? Where? Like, when are you going to the States?
Yeah.
And it was like, we kind of are. There's a thing coming, like an info night coming up, so we're going to that, and you can kind of pick. And yeah, it was easily one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah. And I guess that, again, it's about the opportunity for you to do that so that can be something that's done. And I believe that for anyone, when you leave the country, something switches, something opens up, something changes in you that you cannot understand until you have actually left the country. When you leave the country by yourself, something again shifts, because although you went with your mates,
not the
first time, but you were on the plane,
yeah.
You met up with him and stuff. That whole traveling by yourself as that first experience, something is completely different and it shifts. Hello, Sammy. Hey, Pia. Something shifts in you that you just can't explain, that makes you see the world completely different. Because obviously once you get overseas, you're like, oh my God, I love my country.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
But it's that whole you can't literally just, drive down the road and see how you're going. You're literally in another country all by yourself. And so living through that experience, you went to a basketball camp, so you were a basketball coach, so dealing with kids, dealing with humans, adults, all that sort of stuff. And then to add things, just an extra layer, you went to a Jewish camp, because why would you not?
I had no idea about it at the time, but yeah, it just turned out to be awesome.
That's exactly right. And so again, it's that different experience that you go, you know what? So that was the first of, and then you caught up with your friend and tried some new experiences and stuff like that. And so again, it opened up. And like, if you haven't done stupid things when you've traveled, have you even traveled? Because that's the thing. And so it's opening up the opportunity for something completely different.
Yeah.
So that when you did it again, it wasn't an odd thing, because you've traveled overseas a couple of times since then by yourself. It was just a normal thing. Yeah. You traveled overseas when you had huge anxiety, like you couldn't walk down the street, and yet you got on a plane and went across to the other side of the world all by yourself.
Makes zero sense.
It makes zero sense. But that's that whole thing, that was just a natural thing. Why? Because we chucked you on a plane when you were 16, 17, 18, something like that.
Then how did you see, or did you even see that was a possibility when, like, you were growing up, or when you first started? Were you like, I'm trying to give as much opportunities, or did you see your lack thereof and was like, okay, I've had this is what I would have wanted, like going down the list, and then be like, I'm I'm trying to give as much opportunity as possible.
Absolutely, because we grew up really poor, and so the people we used to live, the street that we lived in, the people all around us were really rich. So the people across the road were incredibly wealthy, and so they would send over all of their clothes in garbage bags. And so when they would leave them at the front door, they would never ever drop them off when we were home, which I thought was really interesting. But anyways, I was very young at the time, and I was just excited because we would go through clothes because their daughters was the same size as me. So it was always like really nice clothes. And so I would always be really excited when we'd see the garbage bags left at the front door. Never ever occurred to me until later that, hang on, they don't ever come over and bring these when we're home. But again, it was that whole, I had this idea that I would see on television shows, bowls of fruit. So my idea of wealth and a loving family was bowls of fruit. Why? Because I would watch Dallas and Bold and the Beautiful and stuff, and they would have bowls of fruit in the kitchen. Can I tell you how many times we bought fruit that went manky because nobody in the family would eat it, but come hell or high water, every time I would shop, we wouldn't have fruit.
Yeah, well, that was when I was I was little. It was that Vanetta was just the symbol of wealth, and I'm pretty sure it was because of 90210 when that was going through, and Luke Perry and everyone like that. Like, I remember that was just the status symbol of wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's that whole, also we will do that.
Yeah.
And I think, again, being so young, having you so young, and just knowing that I wanted to be there for you in a different way that my mother, because my father left when I was 12. Left my mother for her best friend. He's still with her. He obviously loves her, but he left. So I wanted, and then I saw my mother go through the challenge of trying to heal from that and to cope with that as best she could. So I was very aware of, even if it was unconscious, that I wanted to make sure that you had that sense of belonging and love and stuff like that. And so I think that I'm consciously giving you those different opportunities because in my mother's grief, there was a lot of things that she wasn't able to be present for. And so I wanted very much to make sure that that I was present for a lot of things for you. Thus the reason why I would go down and sit in the basketball stadium freezing my patootie off with my little blanket, with my jacket, with my beanie and my book, and I would sit there and I would watch you train, or I would sit there while you were training. I would watch your games. I would yell at you. I would yell at the ref. And I would do that every week because, again, I just wanted to be there to do the things that I didn't get growing up. So I think it was just a normal thing that you didn't have to catch the bus there. You didn't have to try. I mean, and even your father, he would talk about, he would go, and I don't know if it's a boy thing or whatever, but he would go ride his bike to cricket practice and footy practice and, all that sort of stuff. And then he'd go to cricket. And so he would, his parents didn't go and watch him do stuff. He just went and did that by himself. Whereas for you, I wanted to be there. So that you will have those memories about, yes, Mum was there. She was the one that was yelling all the time. And again, when you have little tiny humans, we will be there. Even though you're not allowed to yell on the sideline, you don't tell me because I'll be yelling all right.
What do you think are some of the highlights when, in ways of, I guess, you kind of see yourself like, hey, I kind of have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing okay. Like if there's been standout moments from, I guess, whenever, like some of those key moments. Don't do that because you're rocking the thing.
Oh, sorry. So obviously for you, doing year 12, so you got your year 12 certificate, first one in the family to get it. Very exciting. So that was a huge thing because it wasn't the piece of paper. It was the journey to the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Who you had to become to get the piece of paper, because we don't even know where the piece of paper is. Like I think I saw it in a folder in a box somewhere, like it's here somewhere. It's not about the piece of paper. It's about the journey of who you had to become to get that piece of paper. And that's where the growth happened. And so that was a huge standout, going over, watching that plane take off when you went overseas. I literally cannot explain to you what it is like to see your whole world fly away. Like, I can still see that plane. I'm sobbing. Your father is like shedding a tear or two, trying to be brave.
Yeah.
I am just almost inconsolable.
Yeah.
It is like that whole cone of silence. We will not mention this to Son, but we are both like this. Like, it was just, it was tragic. And your father's like, stroking my hair there. Like, he was as bad as I was.
Yeah.
But it was like, you going to have that experience again was about the journey of that experience, not about being there in the first place. So that going into the army, again, seeing that whole progression of who you became to do that, when you were doing 20-kilometer runs.
Stupid.
For
no damn reason.
For no
good reason.
No good reason. Like, you were doing that just because. Why would you not be doing like a marathon? Isn't that like a half Ironman or something? Half marathon.
I was getting like 100 k's a week.
Like, it was ridiculous, and you wonder why you got bung knees.
Probably why I'm probably why.
So you being, again, going into the army, going and doing all of those firsts, I think is so important, and is what makes me so proud, because you go first. And there's always so much fear around going first, because obviously you go first, but it's about that whole, well, if you don't go first, who will? You have nieces and nephews, we have cousins, we have people in the family who can go, wow, like, he did it. And so being the first in the family to be in the armed forces, being the first in the family to leave the country. Do you know that no one else has left the country?
Really? You're the first one to do it?
First one to leave the country. Yes, as a teenager. My mother's like, what the hell have you done? Sending Aldine over there by himself as a teenager. What the hell is wrong with you? I'll report you to child services. Why? Because he's gone to summer camp. Like, really? Oh my God, what if he dies over there? Well, we'll have to bring him back. Like, what do you, he could die here. No, I can't believe he's left the country. What? Like, she was just beside herself. Oh my God. So thank God you come home safe, because otherwise if you don't come home, I'm going to come kill you. I was like, really? Do you think that's helpful right now? Go on, big note yourself again, send him over there. So that whole going first is so important, because it literally opens the way for other people to be able to have that option. Again, whether or not they choose it, it's not the point. It's the fact that somebody has done it. So therefore, wow, like, they've done it. And so it can be done. Do we want to do it? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But there was like, okay, my God, that's been done. And so you just continually stepping up and doing, the demos, boxing, your gym, the first one in the family to own a gym. It's that continual first. Now it's starting to think about generational wealth. How can we build generational wealth? And again, we don't have conversations like that in our family. Gone. We're moving from those conversations of, what can we buy? What do we do with our money each fortnight, in terms of, so what can we look to invest in that's going to build wealth? The completely different shift. And again, these conversations, the fruits of that might not come to fruition for another 5 to 10 years. In that time, though, you'll be in a completely different space, because it's shifting. We were heading in this direction. Now it's starting to shift, and we're going in this direction. Huge difference. And again, it's those, you're going first with those conversations. You're the one who's going, you know what? We can be a little bit extra. We can do things a little bit different. Starting to think about different business options and demos as a franchise, and, like, all sorts of different conversations and stuff that you can get curious about once you have gone first, because again, it opens up the conversation to something different, because and there's no shame or shade in it, but if you're going to work 5 days a week, you come home, that's it. You don't care about it, you're just going for a paycheck and stuff. The conversations that you have are very different to when you're looking at, so this is my livelihood, this is my vision and my mission, this is what the legacy I want to leave, this is what I want for my grandkids. So the conversation is so different, as opposed to going, I'm just going to go to work from 9 to 5, I'm going to come home, I'm going to watch Supercoach, I'm going to watch, footy, I'm going to watch Big Brother. That's it. On the weekend, I'm going to take the kids to footy. I'm going to come home. I'm going to mow the grass. That's me done. Get ready for Monday. Those conversations are completely different to the ones, like I said, where you're looking at, so generational wealth. What does that look like? What are we going to do with that? Where is the long-term plan and the goal? Completely different conversations that open up to go. And we had the conversation yesterday. When you step into those new opportunities and new conversations, the universe meets you there. So you can't get to that space where those new conversations open, because the universe will meet you where you're at. You need to step forward so that the universe can meet you to go, so now you're ready for this opportunity. If you don't step forward, then the universe is going to be like, nope, you're not ready. You're not ready for that. It's only when you fully step forward, the universe says, yes, I will meet you there, and then open that door, that person, that conversation, that book, that video, that whatever, because the universe says, yep, you've done it, I'll back you. And then again, you just do that every single time.
Well, then that definitely totally agree with that. Then what are some moments where you've wished that or what are some moments where you've stepped into that as a parent, and like, from how did they look when, say, before me, early stages after I was born, the times that you were in Canberra, I was with Nan, and then really just times after that.
It's really interesting when you do, because we're only able to figure these things out in retrospect, looking back, and
hindsight is
always 2020. But it's so interesting because a lot of times I don't know. I used to be an Australian champion at baton twirling. I don't tell anybody that, but I was, I guess, always on a path to try to do something new and different and be good at what I did. And again, in terms of, as most of you know, I'm studying my doctorate, and so right at the very end of this conversation is that, which I'm very close to submitting very, very soon. But again, the conversation then becomes about, there's the first doctor in the family. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a research doctor. I'm an academic, completely different. I am a trauma expert. That's what I am. But there's the first one in the family. Again, I have hundreds of books. You can see like a little bookcase behind me. I have like 6 over there. I had no interest in books.
Can't read probably.
But they're there in case he wants them, in case he's interested. So I do study to do what I do so that there is a doctor in the family, so that if, when my grandkids, great-grandkids are here, if that is an option, then there's somebody who's done it. And so it's really always about thinking for yourself, if I'm not going to do it just for me, who can I do this for so that they can see it as an option, that it's possible? Whether or not they choose to do it, it doesn't really matter. It's more about the fact that, wow, like I've gone first. Is somebody going to follow? I don't know. But at least they've got, well, I can own a business, I can study, I can go overseas, I can do all of these different things because somebody's already gone first to do it. And currently I'm the highest educated person in the family because I own a master's. I own a master's because I have a master's. Again, first one in the family to do that. And it's like, okay. Again, not because I'm big noting myself, but because there's an option for somebody else in the family to go, so Carrie has an option. Carrie has a master's. Excellent. If I want to go and do that, I can talk to her, because how does she do it? Because I know what that's like.
Have there been moments before that where had like been catalyst to get you onto that path now that you can recall? Knowing that you have the memory of a goldfish?
I do have memory of a goldfish. You should tee me up, because I can't think on the spot and remember. Oh, I'm sending little lights. So I got in trouble with the police and got kicked out of high school. Principal said, "You're wasting your time here, get out." Got in trouble with the police. A really nice judge said, "Get out of town." Came here. I started literally in, I was incredibly shy. I know, right? Like, I'm really shy. That's true. True story. I started with like a Cert 2. Started with a Cert 3, and then it was a Cert 4, and it was really just about continuing to build on that. Because I knew that I was here to make a difference. I just knew. I don't know how. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I just knew that something needed to shift so that I could help people, which is what I do.
How have you come back from? Obviously, you've said that you went through postnatal depression, but I'm not sure if other people know as well. But there was actually other times when you've gone through depression and those kind of things. I think that we've touched on it before, but keeping in mind that that was always the goal to go first, and obviously give opportunities. How was when you were at those times, knowing that, like, I understand and have the first-hand glimpse of what depression is like. How did you like pick yourself up and then travel down that road? And was it a different road that you picked yourself up from? Obviously, you were going down here, you hit depression. Did you come back up and go on that same path, or did you come back up and then it was different? Like, what was going through your head then, I guess?
So I was drinking, I was smoking, I was mixing over-the-counter medications, drugs. I was like mixing up all kinds of cocktails and stuff to get through the day. And my idea was that I had depression at the time as well, so I was on antidepressants, I was drinking alcohol, taking all kinds of concoctions of things to try to get through the day. And my idea in my head was that if I could get to 12 o'clock, I didn't actually have a problem. So if I could get to 12 o'clock without a drink, I didn't have a drinking problem. So 1 minute past 12, I was fine. Up until then, I would start late, so that I could get up late, so that I could have a drink. And we were standing in the lounge room, and we were having a conversation. And I'm not sure if you remember that, but we said something. You said something to me.
It was a joke, wasn't it?
It was a joke, and I laughed. And the look on you. Huh?
I don't think you did.
Did you laugh?
No, from how I recall it,
yep,
is that I told a joke, and I remember, like you did. It was there was a blank expression,
yep.
And I just remember like thinking the old you would have found that funny.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I don't remember. I can remember seeing you standing at the door. I don't remember the interaction, but I remember the look on your face going, "Who are you and what have you done with my mother?" And exactly I made that decision. And even though that was the look on your face, and obviously that's what was going through your head, I didn't know that, but I knew that. And so I made the decision right then that I was going to stop everything. So I went cold turkey.
I didn't see you for 3-4 days.
I was gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, later on.
Later on, yep.
I remember as soon as you had that happen, you just, from how I recall it was, we were out in the lounge room. I said that joke, and we were standing in front of the door, and I looked at you, and it was just, it's like I looked into the house, but there was no one home.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, wow, I went this way, you went that way, and I didn't see you for literally for 3 or 4 days, and like I'd come in and check on you, and you would just sleep, and I need you to go here, I need you to keep like the noise down, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I'm getting off my medication. I was like, okay, and then that was I guess like a big catalyst for me as well, because it was like that showed me that even though like you're super dependent on these, because like it helps your mood, and like like you said, like there's no like throwing dirt on anyone, like that's just how we've dealt with it. It was like, if that was ever um came to fruition, like it was you going first again, it was showing that like this thing to help level you out and keep you sane and safe. If it's not working for you, you just give it up.
That's exactly right. And it was tough. I like it. You need to not do, it worked for me and it worked for you, but you need to make sure that it's working for you. So
definitely
here,
like
there, like
anywhere,
you
like
need to do what works for you, because it was tough. Let me tell you, the level of pain, and you must have to be sick to die, because it's just a different kind of um illness, and it's almost like you're itchy on the inside, you can't get comfortable, uh, hungry but not, cold but not hot. Like it's amazing how you can have so many different sensations all at the same time.
freezing.
Hot but freezing, like you want to sleep but you want to run. There's all kinds of things that go on, so you need to make sure that you do that safely.
Definitely.
We're just a little bit stubborn, and I don't know, quite slightly stupid, I guess, is because that's how I did it, because I knew that if I was going to like wean myself off it was never going to happen.
I'm exactly the same. Like
Yeah, it needs to be a boom. That's it. All or nothing. We kind of all are all or nothing.
We all sort of walk.
That's it. You don't kind of go, well, I'll just drop it by 10 and then another. No, because the rate that I was on was so high, it would have taken me 4 years if they were to continue to drop it. I was like, nah, ain't nobody got that time. And so just starting to do that, what happens is the concept of being on any kind of medication is to stabilize. That's all it is. It's not to give you a lift, it's to actually stabilize you so you can at the lowest level function.
The lowest level.
The lowest level. And so what happens is, and this is where support is so incredibly important, is when you come off this stuff, you need to have supports in place, because you'll actually start to feel shit that you haven't felt in quite a long time.
100%.
Because the whole thing you're not supposed to feel. So you have no highs, you also have no low, because there's no feeling. It's just a stabilization of a function. That's it. Until you get yourself to a place where, again, you can come off it, and then you've got, happiness and joy going on in your world. But for the majority of people, it's just a functioning, and that's why I was never going to stay on it for the rest of my life. Again, if you need to be on it, no shame or shade. It worked for you, worked for me for a while. I just 100%. Knew that it was time for me, because it wasn't helping. And so I got tired of not feeling. I had no emotion. None. There was no sadness, there was no joy, there was no there was nothing. And so I wanted to feel stuff. What's really important is to understand that you need to have support, because you start to feel stuff that you haven't felt in a long time.
Horrible things. And I guess for me, and I guess what like seeing you as well, is that like you were starting to feel, and you'd go through those extremes, but they weren't really extremes. They was just like they felt extreme because you were feeling nothing for ages. So that, I guess, like that mountain out of a molehill was really in full effect, because the slightest thing could set you on a super downhill trigger, or one thing could have you on like cloud 9, but that dip afterwards was so just like stepping off Everest and just falling. But and then after a while, obviously you started and had ways and to cope, and it was never just dealing with like, it was never just stopping there. It was always, okay, the next thing. And I guess that's that I've taken it on, and from Dad, where it's like we we don't settle here. It's, you know, pushing the next thing, pushing that envelope just that little bit further, so that, you know, when I have grandkids and those things, they understand that we keep pushing the needle forward.
Absolutely right. And so for me, then I went and got some more help and learned, NLP, and started to do the work and what caused it and what was the underlying traumas and the triggers and all, starting down that path. And then the support that was required around that, and understanding that I needed to step out of the environment that I was in to be able to go to a place of healing. And so understanding for yourself, if that's for you, a lot of times what happens is we go through some kind of a journey, a healing, we go to rehab, we do whatever, and then we go back into that same environment. And it's basically like you go and you just like a little pig in mud, you're rolling around in mud, you go in and have a shower, you get nice and clean, you come back out and you start rolling around in the mud again. And so again, if you put a clean white shirt on and you go and you roll around in the mud, your shirt's going to get dirty, right? So you need to be aware that if you want to keep your shirt clean, you kind of have to stay out of the mud. But if all your friends are in the mud and all of your family's in the mud, you need to make a decision about whether or not you're going to get in the mud or you're going to stay out of it. And there are consequences for both of those.
Pros and cons.
And cons, And again, no shame or shade, whatever works for you,
definitely.
But have that understanding that that's how it will be, that if they're not changing and you do, then there is going to be a disconnect. And so what does that look like in terms of what my boundary is, in terms of, what am I a space for, in terms of, am I showing up for me or am I just doing it to make you happy? That sort of stuff. You need to be very aware of that for yourself, because once you've gone through this healing stuff and you're feeling amazing and life is wonderful, and then you're going to come back and they're going to be like, so you don't want to drink now? Why? You think you're good for us? Right, fine. Be like that.
Yeah, I guess like just owning that decision either way, because like you just said, like that's a real possibility. Like it's, like I really have nothing that was really 100% said. Like you're gonna have that disconnect simply because you're not doing the things that you've done before, whereas everyone else still is. And whether they want to travel down your path at a different time in their journey, awesome. If not, that's awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, just be gentle. That's why you need new friends. You need a new circle of friends. You need to get new interests and stuff like that, have new conversations, because you will find that there is a space where you start to go, well, I don't fit in my old life. I'm not quite sure what my new life looks like yet. And so it's kind of like that, that when one door closes, another one opens, but it's hell in the hallway. There is a space where you're actually in the hallway, which is hell, because you got to try to figure out, where am I going? What am I doing? What does this new me do? What does this new me now make decisions based on? I'm making decisions, based on being off antidepressants and, being sober and stuff. Okay, so what does that look like for me now? Does that mean I go to the pub? Well, no, it doesn't. Does that mean that I go out to nightclubs and stuff? Well, no, it doesn't. I could, but it doesn't. Why would I? That's just not my thing. But if that's still something that you want to do, then you're going to go, well, actually, is that going to be helpful to me being the new me? Because I might be around my friends and be like, I'll just have one, and then that one becomes 10, and then it becomes one too many, and you're back where you started. So, but you get to choose that. It's what works for you. How does this feel for me? Does it work for me? Am I being true and showing up for myself fully, or am I doing this for somebody else? So, hopefully it's been helpful for people tonight.
Hopefully, it's
a good conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And we're starting to, we've hit our mark, so we'll wrap it up there. But yeah, like you said, hopefully that tonight's been insightful, a little bit more of your journey, I guess, and small time intertwined with me, but really just focusing on you. And if your lessons has helped others, awesome. Let me know. Then obviously I'll pass that message on. So we go 0467 88 5757 is my personal number. And if you found something insightful, awesome, shoot me through a message. If you didn't, or if you thought it was trash, let us know too. Like we're here for all that. So yeah, with that, that's it. My last thing that I'll say there. Is there anything else that you're saying, closing?
Yeah, I guess the thing to remember is that it's always about you. We're taught very early on, don't make it about ourselves. It's always about us. What works for you. Being kind to yourself. What does that look like? Because at the end of the day, everywhere you go, there you are. So you need to do what works for you and what's kind for yourself. And for a lot of us, we forget that because we're always about other people, what works for them, it's all about their needs. And so coming back to, and I think that's why demos is so amazing. The gym is because people go there and it's about them lifting. And so you're connecting in a space with people who are also championing you to be the best that you can be. And that's just phenomenal. So be kind to yourself, reach out for help if you need it. Because like we're here to help. We're here to talk stuff through. Like everything's on the table. Like we don't hide nothing. I have the memory of a goldfish, so sometimes you need to jog my because I don't even remember. But we're here to help. We're here to talk about this stuff. If it's been helpful, share it. If you think that somebody might get something out of it, share or tag them as well. Let us know. Like we're happy to talk about this stuff. If there's something you want to hear us talk more about,
definitely
let us know as well. Yeah, let us know because we'll cover it. Because we've been through a fair bit of stuff, just a little tiny bit. So we've been through some things that might help some people with some stuff. And so we're happy to talk about that sort of stuff because the more it stays hidden, the more stigma is around it. Where we want to blow the lid right off it and talk about it, because as soon as you start talking about this stuff, you take the charge away from it.
True.
And so we want to be able to put it out there and have those conversations in a safe, supportive way to go, this is how it was for us. So reach out if you need anything, if you have any questions.
Let us know.
Let us know. So, and we definitely need you to go and eat some chocolate now.
Definitely.
That's a requirement. Chocolate!
Definitely.
So
awesome. With that, we'll say see you there.
See ya.
Laters.